my screen. Nice. Right, I'll just share. Hope you can see everything all right now. So welcome everybody to Nhost Community Call October 2021. Let's see what we have on the agenda. I think you know this by now. So this is not 100% correct. We will do, okay, so Nhost V2 updates, Swag, GraphQL Galaxy. Seb is going to talk a little bit about, and Nhost V2 auth demo. I will do that one with show you a little bit with our new authentication and the new SDK, and we will be here for some time to just have open Q&A. So yeah, Nhost V2 updates were actually, we launched the private beta last week. So we are onboarding a few people now. And I think we're 5 or so people testing it out. And as soon as we've closed the most, the biggest issues and the biggest bugs, we'll start letting more and more people in to really make a good product, basically. And we don't want to let too many people in at the same time because we want to have the chance to talk with everybody and get good feedback. But the private beta is out, and hopefully we can invite everybody here on the call as soon as possible. That's the goal. And we have this GitHub/Nhost/Nhost repository, and we just hit 1,000 stars on it. And if you haven't already, go star us on the repository. Maybe someone can write the link in the chat. So yeah, this is going to be our sort of main repository. We're going to keep discussions and issues there. That's where we're going to focus our effort on. So yeah, Seb, where's the swag? Maybe you want to. Should I go to the next slide here, Seb, or do you want to say something?
Yeah, absolutely. Next slide. This was the big question from last call, but just wanted to update everybody that the swag's been designed. And as you join the beta, there'll be a form that goes out where we'll ask for your size and your delivery address. And we're going to be doing a batch order as it comes through our partners at SwagUp. And the swag will be delivered directly to your home. So it'll be on the way, and we'll let everybody know on Discord once we've ordered, because it'll be a few weeks from there once we order it. So yeah, that's the update, and we're excited to have some shirts and some stickers going out. And we've got the coaster as well. Big shout out to our engineer, Rinal, on the coaster. He was the creative lead on the direction here. Some inspiration from the GitHub coaster. So yeah, hope you guys enjoy it. Thanks, Yuan.
Nice, cool, awesome. All right, so let's do the auth demo that I talked about earlier. And now I think I will switch it up, and I need to share my whole screen for this one. Okay, so let's see. I have this one really close. So here I'm going to show both a little bit with our CLI. So we have the CLI that Mrinal showed last time that I'm going to use. So I'm going to start a local Nhost backend, and I'm going to open up. So there we have Hasura and Mailhug running locally, and let's see. And we can see all the. This is what we talked about last time, but we have GraphQL authentication, storage, and functions, everything running locally now. And I prepared a JavaScript document here. So we have this new NextJS SDK that I just initialized like this. So you can see the backend URL is localhost 1337, which is the sort of base URL that we're using. So that's a base URL, and then it's like v1 GraphQL /auth/storage/functions. And with this CLI, with this SDK, you are able to interact with almost all parts of Nhost. So just to give you an example here, so we do Nhost dot. This doesn't show very good, but you can do auth to site, everything related to auth. You can even do GraphQL and send a request. We have like a lightweight GraphQL client here. Storage to upload files, for example, and the functions to basically call functions. These are serverless functions that you have running. And the SDK will take care of all access tokens and making sure the requests are sent with the correct headers, etc., etc. So let's take a look. I prepared this to-dos table. So we have basically 1, 2, 3 items where is public is true, and then we have 2 more items where is public is false. And if we go into the permissions here, we can see the role public, which is the role being used when you're not signed in as a user. So we can take a look at what you're allowed to see. So if you're not signed in, you're only allowed to see what is public. So if public is true, you're allowed to see it. And users are allowed, like if you're a user and you're signed in, you are allowed to see everything. So if we just go here and start by just doing a request, GraphQL request with a simple GraphQL query to get all the to-dos, we can see how that works. So you see, we get the 3 to-dos, we get just the public ones. Now let's comment out this, and let's take a look at sign up here. So this is very similar to how it currently works. So you can sign up with email and password. Always scary to do live coding, but let's see. So you see, we didn't get any error, but we didn't get any session either, which means you need to, the user has to verify their email. And so if we go to Mailhog here, Mailhog will run locally as well. So all emails going out, you will be able to catch here to test locally. So you can see I was actually sending this to my own email address, but for local development, every email gets here. So I can click, or before I click to verify, we can just go to the users table. And I should have cleaned this up. Let's remove these 2. So if I scroll here, email verified is false, and you can see this is the email address I'm using. So if I just click here, I quickly get redirected to my application with a refresh token, which means now I can sign in automatically to the application. But what happened in the first it goes to the authentication server to verify the email address, and then I get automatically redirected to the application, or to my front-end application. So you can see now the email is verified. And so if we go, we can just make the same request again. So now there's a conflict, which means there's already an email with this user. And if I do sign in and I save, now I get like a session with a token and everything. So I was able to successfully sign in. And if we do the same request, let's uncomment these 2. So the first request is signed out, and the other one is when I'm signed in. We can see how this would work. Oh, I need to have this. Okay, so when I'm signed out, I get just the to-dos where is public is true. So I only get 3 of those. Then I sign in and I make the same request, and now I can see all the to-dos. So that's how it works. So you saw that when I signed in, the tokens were stored locally, or the SDK took care of it. And when I sent a new GraphQL request, the correct headers were set. Okay, so that was email and password. Now let's try only email, and this is called passwordless email or magic link. So this is how it would work to sign in users without the password, basically. So again, error, there is no error, and I don't get a session because I need to, I probably got an email here. So secure sign in link. And I click the link, and I'm automatically logged into my front-end application. So I don't have a front-end application running, but you can see localhost 3000, and I have a refresh token, so I can. So I will get automatically signed in here if I had a front-end application. So using passwordless or magic link is these 3 lines of code, and this works. So if there's no user already, the user will be created, and if there is already a user, it will use obviously that user. So if I do the same, it will be the same experience. Basically, it will basically create the user now, and I will have a new sign-in link that I can log in with. Okay, so that's email, password, and magic link. Now let's try phone number. So this is my phone number. So if you ever want to know, if you're lonely. So this is like a 2-step process. So you will specify the phone number of the user you want to sign in, and that will send a text message. So let's see if we can have this open here. All right, so I got the code here. So, and this is what we call a one-time password that we would use. So, and now I can just add the one-time password, the OTP here. And I will run the same request. And I'm logged in, and I get the session, and I can start to interact with, everything related to Nhost. And if I do the same request again with the same OTP, I'm unauthorized because the one-time password is only, are only allowed to use it once. And if we go to the database here, we now have 2 users. So one is the one I was using with the email and password, and the other one is, the phone number only. And all these sign-in methods can be, combined. So if the first user here had an email and a phone number, they could use any sign-in method they want, basically. All right, and so the last email method that we also have is using providers, right? So a provider could be GitHub, for example. Now this will not work server side, because if you would use this in your front-end application, it will redirect the user to the correct links. But I will just do it manually, and it will go to 1337, auth sign in provider GitHub, and I would have to authorize, and I would come back and automatically be signed in. And if we go to the users table here, we grab the display name from GitHub, we grab the avatar URL from GitHub, and the email address from GitHub. So everything is pre-filled in here. So that was the sign-in method that we've been working on together with some new updates to the SDK. So we will have email, password, magic link, and text message or phone number, and multiple providers that you can choose from. All right, I will stop there. And let's see. Let's go back to. I didn't save it. I don't think there was. Maybe. No, I don't think there were anything else on the slide that we had. So I will just stop here for the auth or authentication demo, and ask Seb, is there anything else that we want to bring up here, or do we go to Q&A?
This was all that was planned for today. So let's go to open Q&A. If anyone has any questions, feel free to unmute and ask, or if not, you can ask in the chat window as well.
Yeah, Johan, when you just did the one-time password were you hitting the same URL for both when you passed back the
It's two different.
It's sign in with your phone number, and then are you sending the same method with the OTP? Because obviously you have to instantiate, so you get it from Twilio, right?
Yes. So yeah, you just need to specify your Twilio credentials, and then everything will work out of the box. And if you're using the JavaScript SDK, that works on both React, React Native and front end, or in the browser, you basically just have to add OTP : and the one-time password to the same method. So you do sign in phone number together with OTP. So you start with just phone number, and then you do phone number plus OTP.
Right. So it's the same. But it's the same request. You're just adding another parameter to the request.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. That's what I was making sure. Thanks.
Johan, you said that we can link. So if there's already a user, it can be linked with another provider. In this case, would be the phone number. But how can you know that they are both the same user? Does the user need to have his phone number already in his account, or?
Yes. So you would have to add the phone number to the user.
Okay.
Yeah. And the way, like, for example, if someone signs up with the email and password, and then they sign up with the GitHub, if it's the same email, we will merge those two accounts. So it's going to be the same user.
Okay. So as long as the user uses the same email, all the accounts will be merged.
Yes, correct.
What about the URL photo? Which one will be taken?
Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know.
Last one, maybe?
Maybe, or maybe the first one.
Okay.
One of those. But I think Auth0 has this option to update the user's information every time they sign in. So for example, if they sign in with GitHub, we could actually automatically update the user's display name and avatar URL. So maybe we'll include that option in the future. But right now, we grab the information the first time they use it, and then we don't update it. So yeah, I would say we don't update it. I would say it's the first one.
Okay.
Is the reset password and stuff in the API now?
It's yeah, I think it's always been in the API, but I think with the JavaScript SDK you're referring to. And Nuno just went offline, but I think Nuno created a pull request just yesterday.
Awesome.
For the password reset. So it should be out soon.
Yes, it's ready to be deployed, Lars.
Oh, that's amazing. Then I can switch over soon.
Yeah. There was like 5 or 6 methods still missing, but they were all implemented yesterday. So.
Okay, yeah. Then I know the timeline.
Yeah, we will let you know on the chat for the beta.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we've got the next question in from Philip, and it's, what is the status on managing the multiple duplicate tokens sent to backend in very short timeline, e.g. multiple browser tabs, mobile apps coming back from dormant state? Can Nhost v2 manage that without logging out a user? E.g. first time token is refreshed, then second time when the same token is handled, it is already invalid and the user is logged out.
Yes, so I'm actually trying to find the code, but I'm pretty sure I put like we don't delete them, or that we delete them after 10 seconds, because I know this was a big problem or not a big problem, but it was a problem in V1. And it's been addressed, but maybe I can come back to this question and see if I can find exactly how it was addressed. Yeah, but it's addressed for sure.
Any other questions? Chat window's looking a little quiet.
I have one. It's not related to auth. It's more on the storage. And because I missed the last ones, I don't know if it has been addressed. What is the status of the storage API, and how can I upload and retrieve a document? Can you just like talk a little bit about it?
Yes. So we have this method in the SDK. So you do Nhost storage upload to upload a file, and then you will get a file ID back. So when you upload a file, we will store the metadata in the database for you, and you will get the file ID back, and then you could use that file ID to retrieve the file basically and show the file. We will get up more example apps and templates around this because it's not so easy to explain just in words. But essentially, what will happen is you upload a file. We will store the metadata in storage.files table, and that is accessible through the GraphQL API. And you can use a file ID to retrieve or to generate a link that you can display or send, show anywhere.
Okay, so the API has like a get method, and you pass the ID, and you get the.
Correct.
And what about permissions? Does it check for permissions? Does it check?
Yes. So when you request metadata, like when you do get, I think it's get URL, and then you specify a file ID. We are making, under the hood, we're making a GraphQL request to get the information, and we're sending the authorization token that the user has, which means the GraphQL request will be go through Hasura's permission system, the same way you would you request the information through Apollo or some other GraphQL client. So you would set the permission for files just like you set permission for any other data that you have in your app.
Interesting. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So just to expand on that, the idea is to not have a separate storage permission rule system, but instead using Hasura and GraphQL 100% with storage as well.
Nice.
So you guys are doing onboarding. What percentage of the customers have you moved to the new system?
I think we have like five, 6, 7 people on the private beta currently.
Okay.
If you're keen, yeah.
Yeah, I have a React Native app and another and a NextJS app that I'm trying to figure out what the pain factor is going to be, whether to do the move before we go live with those or whether to. I mean, are you going to continue to support V1, right, for some period of time, or it's totally different infrastructure, right?
Yes, it's totally different infrastructure. And in terms of time, like we will not, shut down V1 overnight. Yeah. But we will probably do some kind of sunset. I don't know in timeline. Maybe Nuno has more a better estimate around time, but we haven't discussed it too much, to be honest.
But the actual move is arbitrary, right? Like it seems like the API is similar enough. That's a matter of just kind of going through and replacing all the code. But the Hasura move, like all the events, actions in Hasura, all the other data, is that simple to migrate, or is that a function of, are we having to recreate everything that we've built in this whole infrastructure in a new environment?
Yeah, that's actually a good question. So, and we actually have Lars and Sang on the call, which I helped this week to move from V1 to V2. And I think I spent an hour with Lars the first time to migrate the backend. And
Yeah.
then obviously you had to do some work on the front end with a new SDK. Some stuff changed. And the same thing with Sang. I think we spent like 30-40 minutes to migrate it. But I would recommend scheduling like 2 to 3 days for the migration. And if you're depending on you, like 1 to 3 days, I would say.
What about data?
Front end wise, like, of course, because we're in beta. So if you already have your app running on V1, and if you're interested in now transitioning to V2, you're transitioning to V2 beta, of course. And then from V2 beta, you're probably at some point going to be interested in migrating to V2, which is probably going to have small changes in let's say the SDK. We're going to rename some functions somewhere. So then it's up to you, like how, if you already have something running in a stable environment, think about sort of how you're prepared. Like every beta, there's going to be some changes like that. So
right. No, I think it's more. I don't have any particular eagerness to try to do it right now, and I'd like for you to sort out the details. But understanding there's a smart time to move. Find that time, the ideal time where if it's going to be 3 days of pain and data migration, I want to make sure that I do it at a, if there's going to be future pain, I'd rather have the pain earlier.
Yeah, but you can try the new beta as soon as you get access and evaluate yourself, right? So there's going to be a way to do it for sure. And then depending on your exact situation, I'd recommend just try out the new version when you get access and have a look. What do you think?
Well, it's not a matter of evaluation. I know. Look, I'm in love with Nhost. I'm sure that the next version is going to be something I'm going to want to move to as soon as it has your idea of stability. The question is, what's the ideal time to make that transition, to make those migrations? That's
Let me just add, Michael, like your question from before, like, I don't think we're going to tear down V1 before everyone actually moves to V2, at least the people that are paying. And then the second one is that in line with what Johan started yesterday, migrating Lars app from V1 to V2, we're going to keep doing that for a few other projects so that we also get some experience doing that and seeing what are the pain points exactly. And when we know what those are, we can just write down something and share it with all of you, so you can evaluate a bit better.
That'd be great. Yeah, just thinking about what are the steps, and then thinking, okay, well, that's a lot to do.
Yeah.
Well, here's the ideal time. That would be perfect.
Yeah,
that would be helpful.
We're going to try to have that soon.
Okay, we got another question from Max, and Max is asking any estimate or plan for when a stable V2 could be available.
Should I start and then Jerry? Yeah. Should I start and then Jerry and then Nuno? We'll see. We'll take an average.
Yeah, I'll double your number.
Stable V2. I think we will go out of this is super hard. I think we will go out of beta anywhere between 3 to 12 months from now. Now, whether going out from beta is when we're stable, depends on what you mean with stable, right? So, but we don't. Yeah, as you said, we don't have a super clear site plan here going out from beta. But I would, for example, our own Nhost application runs on Nhost V2, so it's stable for us at the it's stable for us at the moment with everything we've done.
It's hard to say, right? Because we're now launching the beta to get feedback and to get more information and know what works, what doesn't. I think the infrastructure, like the core of everything is stable, probably as we speak. but of course, we're also trying to expand our offering in terms of the whole development experience, have an integrated solution in terms of the SDKs, CLI, all of that. So then the question of stable, I'm a UX guy. So for me, stable means users can interact with the system comfortably. It's usable. They can easily find documentation, things like this. So then it starts being like maybe a matter of opinion, what's stable, what's not.
So what if you would have to pick a number, Jerry?
Yeah, I'd say open beta, question of maybe a few months, 2-3 months. And by then I would probably encourage people to start new projects on V2. Migrating old projects, I've done it enough that, that's another question, but probably maybe the same answer to that. Whether we call it beta or not, we'll probably see.
And the storage, it's not Minio anymore. Or it's less exposed. It's more kind of wrapped inside the Nhost SDK.
Exactly. So we have we're using AWS S3, and we have a service on top of that to manage all permissions and everything. So it's a lightweight server on top of that.
So that migration that'll be a matter of still matching UUIDs and whatnot. If we're using UUIDs as folder keys on the on the current Minio implementation, and then your added factor of knowing all the metadata that comes, the fact that you have a GraphQL interface to these files in a more structured manner, that will have to be migrated as well.
Yeah, so migrating the storage part from V1 to V2 is probably the biggest manual task that you have to do.
Okay.
The other thing is pretty trivial, to be honest, but the storage part is you have to think a little bit.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for storage, there's no way around it. We have to write some tooling for easing the process.
Yeah, but so part of the migration effort is not just moving from V1 to V2. It's also realizing to take better advantage of some of the APIs that you have in the new environment, right? I'm doing something where when I'm ordering photos. I think I talked about it last time. I'm ordering photos within the storage, and right now I have to put a key in the database to tell me which of those items I want ordered in a certain way in that folder. Whereas in this new environment, it sounds like I'm going to be actually able to store, along with the metadata, the intended order for these objects. So it's not just a matter of the migration, it's a matter of using the API in a more expressive way against my application. And that's the stuff that you want to be able to take advantage of. Or if you want to provide the ability to do the one-time password via SMS, figuring out that's the flow that you want to encourage people to do. I mean, that's part of the notion of migrating to the next version.
I just want to add to that very quickly. So first of all, I think in almost all probability, we might end up writing some sort of a very straightforward and naive migration guide for everyone to move from V1 to V2 in a much more abstract manner, nothing like super duper technical, but like abstract steps. Step number 1, you do this. Step number 2, you might want to migrate Hasura storage next. And then in storage, you do these steps. And if you have this, and do this, like a very abstract and straightforward guide. That depends on how much time all the engineers in the team have, especially Johan and Nuno. And secondly, Minio and S3 both have the same API, right? So the amount of abstraction that the Nhost SDK has for S3 is entirely separate from, for example, if you are directly interacting with raw APIs of Minio. Minio follows the S3 API documentation. right? So the endpoints are anyway not going to change. Depending upon your schema, you might want to make changes, right? So just for that clarification.
Yeah, no, I understand. I understand that aspect for sure.
What are areas that you think is probably the most unstable? Like if you were to guess which areas of the new Nhost v2 has been less tested, like you already have an application running on it, but which is the most risky if to evaluate when to take it into use?
I think things are pretty stable in terms of. I think the when we talk about unstable things, it's mostly maybe our own documentation, our own console when you interact. Like it's we don't have every setting there that you can do already. But in terms of other, like the authentication, pretty well tested. Storage is very well tested. GraphQL and Hasura is also very well tested. Postgres is well tested.
Yeah, because you first said 3 to 12 months before it's kind of stable, and I'm thinking about just doing it now because you already helped me migrate, and then I don't need to do it again. Yeah, like those are the unknowns, but we don't
I think
know.
that's probably like a good point to bring up. So for this audience, right, like we have like how many, a dozen people maybe on the call. So when you get that random error, we're there to help you. But stable for the general audience of thousands and thousands of people coming in, creating new apps, signing up, that's when we can scale up that customer level of customer support. So that for that general audience, we need to, have better error messages when something breaks and all that stuff. So
I have a stupid question I also wanted to ask, just because like with Nhost v2 is very nice. You have the local development and then you push to like master and it's built on the thing, but should probably be not something that I like to do, but I like to just do it in production and change things as sometimes. Will it be backward compatible that I can update metadata? Is there any way I can, like, if I do a change in production, to get that to be reflected in the local environment, or do I have to do everything in local before I push? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Nuno.
I'm not entirely sure I understood the question, but you're saying if the use case is you're pushing directly to master or main, if that gets replicated on your local.
Yeah, like there is a way. I was doing some hot fixes or quick fixes. Let's say I can't get my Docker container to work, but I really need to just get something to work. I just switch to development.
I think I understand what he's saying. So right now, Lars, there's one way to do it. You can just clone your production application with the CLI in a separate directory and start working on it. Okay, but if you are looking for a specific workflow design where we allow you to pull the changes that you have made in production to your already initialized local app, we are intentionally discouraging that behavior.
Okay.
Because it can break things in a very serious manner for you. And it can break things in a serious manner where even the Nhost team may not be able to revert your application in production. So.
Okay.
Yeah. What you can do is like what TJ wrote in the chat, like if you do something in production and then you like think, okay, then you're like in an out of sync state. So now your production and your local is out of sync. Then delete the local folder. Like maybe TJ, you want to maybe,
yeah,
what
just
are you doing here?
The .nhost folder, and I think there's a YAML file or something. I delete both of those and I just run the command line init again, and it just reconnects it to the production with all the metadata. Because I've done exactly what Lars is talking about. Like I needed to log in and just change something on production real fast to get it working. And then all of a sudden I couldn't push anymore because the metadata was out of sync.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's a perfectly valid thing to do. Actually, and that's what you do the first time, actually. So it's like doing everything. Like it's like, okay, I'm starting over basically.
Yeah, just change your Git directory.
Okay.
That's it.
If you really want to do the safe way, Lars, I would do what I also pray like internally, like we should always do the local thing, proper migrations and then deploy it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know how it is when you're a solo developer and you don't like you don't need to do best practices all the time. So totally understandable.
Yeah. Just
I know the workaround if something happens. Thank you.
So I have a question about the open source licensing of this. So, and Johan and I have discussed one-on-one with this, but so it is open source. It has the MIT license. I'm guessing that your guys as a team, your priority is to make this work best on your platform. But do you have any intention or goals to help the people that aren't going to use Nhost and are going to self-host this as an open source project? Is that a priority to you at all, or is that an intention that you hope that people were deployed in other places, or do you just really want to just focus on the in-house customers?
Yeah, so I think we're going to take a similar approach to NextJS, where you can run NextJS everywhere, where it's a node server, but it's not as performant as doing it at Vercel or similar servers, right? And I think we're gonna like modify this CLI a little bit to have like a Nhost start, which basically would start a production environment. Like it's not a it would start a production environment. It wouldn't be as performant as with our own infrastructure, because we're using RDS, AWS Lambda, and these kind of stuff. But at least you have something there. So that's how I'm thinking about it. So it should be as easy as like if you have Docker and the Nhost CLI, and you should be able to run Nhost start.
Right. Cool.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, we actually want to make the documentation for like people that for some reason want to eject from Nhost, the platform. They know how to host stuff on their site like pretty easily. We're not like afraid of that. I think that's actually a good thing. And the benefit of the platform of using the managed service should speak by itself. So that's, I think, the way we see it.
Great.
One question. What's your use case? Like, why are you interested in? Are you just curious, or do you have like business cases for it?
Well, so my company that I work for, we're an agency. We're launching a very large scale. There's lots of deep pockets in this project, and so we have our own AWS account, and they're trying to squeeze every dollar they can. And so we're self-hosting everything ourselves, and we're going to do a lot of like scaling. So we'll have multiple instances of our authentication servers scale up as we have more traffic and things like that. And so we're handling all that ourselves. And we have the chops and skills to do that. And at least in my day job, the boss wants us to take on all that responsibility rather than offloading it to a company like Nhost that sort of does it for you. But then there's a big price point on it potentially. So that's just the way they do business. But personally, I do like Nhost and I like using it, so I don't have to do the DevOps on my side projects.
It's a common topic that comes up. I've had that come up in many different products I've worked on.
Yeah,
I'm personally of the opinion that the math never works on doing all the DevOps, paying your own guys to do all that.
Oh yeah, you don't have to tell me.
I know.
I know.
No.
But it's funny how certain product owners just decide doing it ourselves is better, and that's just an opinion they hold very strongly.
Yeah.
Well, to that point though, for scaling, what are some of the things we should be thinking about as we're partnered with Nhost and looking to say, hey, what, if we anticipate great rises in traffic, or we know we're going to do some sort of marketing campaign and bring on, this kind of, are there things that we do in triage? Are there things that we should be reaching out to Nhost about to say, hey, I have, a set of checklists here. I've got these kinds of indexes happening, but help us to anticipate any sort of spikes in usage or traffic. What are your thoughts about kind of the reverse scenario from what Josh was talking about?
Yeah, Nuno, you want to talk a little bit about this?
I didn't hear the question, Michael. I'm sorry.
Oh no, my question is, what sort of things should we be saying in anticipation of what we think might be scale on our projects, and things that we need to, because obviously without visibility into your infrastructure and knowing how many instances of auth are running, we can't just blindly say, well, Nhost has got this handled, and we're gonna make sure that we can scale to this. What are the kinds of things we should be checking for when we are moving from kind of a prototype phase of our project to live and maybe a lot of traffic, just so that we don't get caught with our pants down?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We have obviously thoughts about that. We haven't done a lot of load testing on the platform V2 on the new version, but we are relying on horizontal scalability and even vertical scalability from pods and Kubernetes policies. And of course, like for the freemium model, we're not gonna have projects openly just increase as much as they need to. But for projects that are paid, we certainly are going to work to make sure that any load, obviously this any load here, the threshold, there's an upper threshold that we're not entirely sure about, but it's going to be a really good one, I would say. But we're going to make sure, that's our goal, to make sure that any app can actually grow and perform well. But again, this is work that we haven't done yet. I did some load testing personally, and the numbers look pretty good so far. But it's not that I can assure you like a 99.9% of reliability at this point. This is something that will evolve with time, and we will have people starting soon that will only be allocated for that kind of work. But I wouldn't worry too much about that at this point. I think your apps would have to become really, really big for us to not be able to handle it, because things are separated in a nice way. There's policies specifically for your tenant, for your namespace, and for your app. So if there's requirements to scale horizontally, we can do that easily as soon as AWS has machines available. So I wouldn't be worrying too much about that, but it's still a very good question. It's just that it's not something that I have a more like a precise answer at this point. But it's definitely in our.
Well, no. What I think we wanted to ascertain was, if there is, every company has an ideal customer, right? An ideal client. This customer, checks all the boxes of what our use case is imagined for. What I think some of us are looking for to hear from Nhost is there ever a situation where you anticipate a user graduating off your platform and doing it themselves with HPP, with, and I think to hear you say, we anticipate that we can grow with you to any scale, that's comforting, right? To know that, hey, all right, let's work through this, and let's say, maybe there is another part of the infrastructure that needs to be beefed up on the Nhost side to be able to provide for this particular instance. But we just want to know that there's going to be that capability, and there's a way to have that kind of communication. And sure, we're paying for it. We're going to be paying for more of Nhost resources, but it makes sense for us to be outsourcing the DevOps. But I'm comforted here, so long as you're not saying, hey, well, once, it's sort of like the Auth0 model, right? They have this great model for up to 7,000 users, and then all of a sudden it's like cost prohibitive, well above where if you rolled your own JWT, you're gonna be covered. And now they're bought by Okta. Now the entire Auth identity as a service is owned, right? It's now its own vertical, and there's no more room to enter that market. We just want to know, okay, yeah, this we're looking to scale linearly with Nhost. There's not some threshold where it's like, okay, now you guys need to put all this in your own AWS account. Here's the VPS's farm that you want set up, and here's how you should organize it and architect it. If you're not anticipating that there's a top out limit, then I'm comforted to continue to grow with you guys.
Yeah, I mean the thing you just mentioned about using your own AWS account, like we have that in the pipeline as well. We think it will make sense eventually to some specific customers, bigger customers, that they use their own AWS account or other features like peer or VPC peering that we can leverage to incorporate Nhost with your existing infrastructure, if that's the case. But again, I like what you said. Like you are growing with us, Nhost, and we're gonna do that path together. So if you're successful, we're successful, and that's what we're gonna try to do. There's still a lot of room to grow your apps. That's what I'm trying to say.
And we think we have a lot to offer down the line to Spotify. Like there's other benefits than when it comes to like having quickly deployable managed services, even for big companies. They're not working on just one infrastructure, one app. They have multiple teams working multiple different things, and having those the benefits that Nhost brings, we believe that can be beneficial even to really large customers. So we hope you probably, when you get your 10th millionth users, you will still be glad to stick with us, I'm sure.
Right, we've had another couple of questions come through from Jeff. And so we've got, will there be a new pricing model with V2? And then the next question was multiple database support in the solution, not linked to external.
Yeah, so the biggest change we've made in pricing model is we're going to have a free tier, a pretty generous free tier. We want to really open up Nhost to the broader public and just make it the go-to platform for anybody who want to build apps. So free tier. In terms of other pricing tiers, that is still in the discussions. But I think most, the biggest one is the free tier.
Yeah,
I will also say that in the private beta, we're going to be doing some testing of the proposed tiers as well. So we do want feedback on this as well, to talk about what the ideal approach will be with your projects. So that will be an ongoing conversation.
Yeah, that's a good shout out. And don't freak out if you at some point see a landing page from Nhost and prices might change because we're running an A/B test. So we're doing that just like you guys are. And yeah.
So on that note, since Azure now allows multiple databases, will we be able to create multiple databases on Nhost? And what's the limit? Is it the space limit? How are you guys handling this?
We don't have any plans to currently to support, or that you would provision new databases inside Nhost.
Yeah.
We will give you one, and will probably be okay for most use cases, but it might change in the future.
And you would still be able to connect to outside databases eventually.
Yes.
So
if you need multiple databases, you could host some external. But yeah, for now we're focusing on one database. Or say Postgres.
Okay. Does the V2 have automatic backups of the database?
Yes.
Yes, it's launched. Cool.
Not yet, but it's gonna be there very soon.
Okay. Like a few months from now or weeks, you think?
I think it's scheduled for Sprint 5, so in roughly 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
And what about deployments? Any news about creating short instances of your branch and being able to test it?
Preview environments is not ready yet, but it's also on our roadmap. Is that what you mean, Helio? Like you would create a pull request and have a I mean, I think we have most of the things for it. It's just about the prioritization, and it's not. Yeah, we have a lot of stuff to do until we reach that point. Super hard to give you an estimate, but it's not going to happen within the next 1 to 2 months, let's say. I would say.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Yuan, the thing we had with the email when we worked a little bit together on the migration, is that soon there, do you think?
Was it the Mailhog thing?
Yeah, you showed in the demo now that you could log in and you got an email and you clicked, so that's all working now.
Yeah, should be as easy as upgrading to the new CLI.
Okay, super. Thank you.
Okay, we've just gone past the 1 hour, so that was actually a really good Q&A session. Thank you everyone for all the interest and the engagement on 2.0 and V2. I think we're all excited about it, and so look out for the invites to be coming through as we phase through everybody into it. We're excited to get you all into it. Thank you for the patience, and I know a couple of you have been on the wait list for a while, but as Yuan mentioned, we want to ensure the best developer experience for everyone. So we're just bringing everyone through in stages and making sure that we're there to support you all in your projects. I think that's a wrap. Yuan, did you want to have any closing comments?
Oh.